Okay, every year in AP Calculus, the most asked question is always, what are we going to do after the AP test? That is always the most asked question in my class. People are always just curious all throughout the year, what are we going to do after the AP test? What are we going to do after? And I'm just like, let's get to the AP test first, and then we'll worry about what we do afterwards. The last couple of years, I've watched this movie called Stand and Deliver, so that's a good one you should watch. This video though is about my 5 top tips and advice for college next year. Okay, so number 1 is that college is all about teaching yourself. Whatever it may be, it's about teaching yourself to learn. And what I mean by that is that all throughout your 12 years of education so far, you've been used to having a teacher kind of guide you along the way every single year, which is fairly similar to college, but the difference is that in college, your professors won't tend to be as involved as your high school teachers have been. Teaching yourself how to learn in college is a big deal. You're not always going to get the professor you want. Don't let that be an excuse for why you don't succeed in a class. Some professors will be great, some professors won't be great, but here, the bottom line is don't get a good professor mixed up with an easy professor. And what I mean by that is not every good professor is necessarily an easy professor. You might have professors that are really hard on you and that make you work really hard, but those tend to be the best professors. Best teachers that I had were the ones that made me work the hardest. And if you want to take an easy class, then take an easy class, but don't get that mixed up with an easy professor, or no, don't interchange those two definitions. Okay, really the class is about the work that you put into it. The professor will be there. I'm not saying the quality will be high necessarily. You could have a professor that may not put as much effort as you think they should, or they may just be talking straight out of the textbook. Like I had plenty of professors who would just lecture at the front and they were basically reading out of the textbook, and I could read along with them, and I'm like, well, I don't need to be here to do this. I can just do this at home. So you have professors that do that, and in that case, you can complain, but that's not going to do anything really. Nobody's going to help you there. You have to be able to teach yourself. You have to be able to find a resource, find something, Khan Academy, whatever it is, that's a skill that you need to be successful, not just survive and get by college, but to be successful in college, you need to be able to take care of yourself, teach yourself, and push yourself so that you can find the resources that you need to learn. Number 2, this one's a big one. Go to class. Don't skip class, even if attendance is optional. You're going to face the decision of hitting the snooze button at 9 a.m. or going to class at 9 a.m. And the first time you hit that snooze button, that is a very slippery slope. So don't get into the habit of not going to class. You'll learn that you have a lot of freedom in college, just like you've had a lot of freedom during COVID right now. This is actually a really good, I guess, pre-trial or simulation of what college will be like. Hopefully you've been kind of practicing these things, because once you go to college next year, you're on your own. If you don't do the work, they're going to put in a 0. And if you don't attend class, they're not going to care. They're going to either, if they take attendance, you'll be marked absent. If they don't take attendance, you still have to take the test and it's still on you. Number 3, once you have gone to class, don't sit in the back, okay? I have this theory, I'll go to the drawing board now. I have this theory that the people that sit in the back of class are the people that have their laptops open. And the people that have their laptops open are the people that are probably playing Tetris or something else. So don't be sitting in the back playing Tetris. Sit at the front or the second row. I always, sat in the front or the second row during college, and that worked pretty well for me. So it may not for you. You may want to sit in the back. If you want to sit in the back, that's fine. But just know that it's easy to get off task. And then on top of that, when you go to class, there are studies that have shown that having your laptop out during class leads to more distractions. And don't be that person in a college lecture hall of 400 people that didn't plug in their headphones and pressed play on something, I don't know, and everybody just turns and is like, and the professor's like, I don't know what the professor's like, but they make some awkward comment and you're the center of attention at that point. So don't be that person. And so the way to avoid that is don't be on your laptop. Take notes with paper and pencil. Studies show that taking notes with paper and pen it leads to a higher rate of success and a higher rate of doing better on your tests and things like that. Okay, number 4. This one is really underrated, but go to office hours. And if you don't know what office hours are, they're basically tutorials. In high school, tutorials unfortunately has, I guess in my opinion, devolved into just pop their head into class and be like, hey, can you fix my grade? Or hey, what can I do to get my grade up, mister? That's like probably the second most common question is, hey, what can I do to get my grades up? The answer to that question is obvious, so I won't get into that. I can make another video about that and go on all day. In college, office hours is perceived as the place where the top students go. If you want to succeed, you go to office hours. I mean, the same holds for high school. If you want to succeed, go to tutorials, ask for help. One thing is recognizing that just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that you're not going to get better at it. There's a very negative perception of that in high school where it's like, oh, I didn't get it the first time. I didn't understand it. Like, especially in calculus. That's what I really try to do in my classes. All up until pre-calc, you're so used to cramming right before the test and just winging it because it's like algebra based. But in calculus, I really try to drive you into being forced into studying and being forced into doing the work. And so I try to make the class more about working hard and putting forth the effort instead of a class where you can just wing it the night before and just do well on the tests. That's not really how it's going to work. That's not how it works in my class, and that's not how it's going to work in college either. You have to put in the work. The last thing, the key to learning is practicing. The best way to learn something is to teach it. And I'm not saying become a teacher, but what I am saying with this is the best way to learn something is to discuss it and explain it with other people. So, and it works. If you discuss and explain something, which often students do in my classes, which I really encourage, when a student explains something to either me or to somebody else, you are reinforcing that and learning it yourself. Even if you're working through a problem or studying your notes, talking about it and explaining it with a group of people is the best way to learn. So I would say the best advice for college is to develop a study group for your classes or some of your classes that you might struggle in. I mean, oftentimes, if you noticed in my class, whenever I get a question, I'll often involve somebody sitting around you in that question. And I know it's frustrating because you're so used to getting an instant answer, but that's not how you learn. The way you learn is by discussion and by arriving to the answer yourself. I often do that because that's a better way to reinforce your learning. Because if you just hear me say that's correct or that's not correct, that's not helping you learn. That's just kind of giving you affirmation, which actually retrains your mind to not think as hard about a question or not problem solve. So anyways, there you have it. There's my 5 top pieces of advice for college.